Welcome. It's 7 p.m. and you're with me, Navika Kumar, on the News Watch this evening. And at a time when our Jawans are giving up their lives on the border to protect the country, political parties just won't end the entire controversy over demanding proof. Is this the time for political parties to demand proof? Don't they just believe the army's statement? That's the big question we're going to debate in just a bit from now. But first up, the headlines.
We have not a shred of doubt in the capabilities and caliber of our armed forces.
Congress just won't end the want proof debate. Government sends out a stern message, says Army's word is sacrosanct. A day after he called the surgical strike fake, citizens boycott Sanjay Nirupam's event, but Congress just won't act against its own. Unprovoked fighting from Pakistan side escalates. 20 ceasefire violations in the last 5 days. Civilians bear the brunt. Pakistan Army increases terror vigil, reports with Times Now details how Pak troops are aiding terrorists waiting to infiltrate. Surgical strikes conducted with immense precision. Details reveal how state-of-the-art technology was used to hit back.
That any state has the right to defend its territory from international terrorism.
The objective is one issue is ensure there is no cross-border terrorism.
Germany, Sri Lanka back India's surgical strike against Pakistan, say every country has a right to defend itself. Even though the Congress continues to seek proof of the surgical strikes, sources tell Times Now on the day of the surgical strikes, Pakistan Army sounded a red alert across Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. This at the time when Indian forces launched the strikes. Aditya Raj Kaul joining us in a short while from now. But the fact is that there was a lot of activity in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. A red alert had been sounded by the Pakistani forces. If there was no strike, as Pakistan would want the world to believe, then why so much reaction and why so much overreaction? Why detailed and large cabinet meetings? Why parliament sessions? And why is Nawaz Sharif going out of his way to make the world believe that there were no surgical strikes? Just what are the Pakistani lies that Nawaz Sharif wants to sell to the world? Of course, Aditya getting us details of that alert that was sounded across the border on 29th of September when the surgical strikes were conducted. This alert was sounded even at a time when we are getting reports from eyewitnesses that they saw bodies being put in a truck, taken away when the surgical strikes were taking place. That is the latest that we are getting you at this point in time.
Tonight, time to end show-proof debate now.
We again request the government to use all information, evidence and instruments at their disposal in calling the Pakistani bluff.
Politics first, India next for Netas. Watch the News Hour debate with Arnab Goswami tonight at 9 p.m.
Thank you. We will have our experts in just a bit from now. Our experts really on the question of whether or not political parties should be demanding any proof of the surgical strikes. I'm joined in my studios in New Delhi. G. Parthasarathy, former High Commissioner to Pakistan, joining us live. Ambassador Harish Dogra, former diplomat, also with me in the studios. And with me in the studios is also Major Gaurav Arya, defense analyst and expert on Kashmir operations. G. Parthasarathy, to you first. Does this demand for proof that's coming from various political parties at this moment completely find the misplaced priorities of political parties at a time when India is fighting international perceptions, India is fighting what Pakistan is saying, and India is fighting, the jihadis who are on the other side of the LOC trying to infiltrate into India. At such a time, should political parties be raising the issue of government showing proof that the strategic strikes did take place?
First, this is remarkable, the difference between now and Kargil. During Kargil, even the government did not have full information. But yet when Indian borders were crossed, the opposition and the Congress rallied behind the Vajpayee government. So I can't understand the change in times. Secondly, on this incident, I think the viewers should know when we should address the viewers. The fact of the matter is that what Sanjay Nirupam said yesterday was disgraceful, because in effect he questioned the veracity of the Director General of Military Operations of India, in effect the highest operational officer in charge of military operations. I'm glad that he was disowned by both the Congress President and the Vice President.
But did you hear RPN statement today?
No, I'm coming back.
RPN Singh again continued to reiterate that the government should use every evidence that it has at its service to use that. It's really coming back to the
Let me say one thing. The government has shared what it needs to share with major world powers. Okay? That's how you deal with this situation. The Americans have sent a tough message to the Pakistanis, because Susan Rice was briefed immediately by the Oval, and quite obviously they were given substantial proof, and more important, they have great listening facilities. So the very fact that the United States is not questioning us but is turning its wrath on Pakistan should be clear as to why that is happening. Secondly, just today or late last night, the Vice President of the European Union praised this operation, saying that you have done a good thing in eliminating terrorism. They deserved what they got. Now, it is really for the Congress party to make up its mind. And I want to put a further thought of you. What is the dilemma of the government? Look, even when the Americans went into Abbottabad, they never released photos of that operation. Yes, Obama and others watching it, yes, but never released detailed photographs of that opposition. The helicopter and all was shown, but never released details. There must be good reasons why the government doesn't wish to do it. They can at a later stage, like we did at Kargil. In the case of Kargil, we got these denials and denials and denials. And finally, I recall a special envoy came. We went and met Nawaz Sharif and gave him a tape recording of a conversation between Musharraf and General Aziz. Musharraf was in Beijing, acknowledging they had done it. But despite that, the army continued to deny till the end of Kargil, even after they were defeated. So this Pakistan behavior is par for the course. We shouldn't take it seriously. More so because General Rahil, one important thing, General Rahil Sharif has not said a word. He has not said a word. So quite obviously he knows the implications of what happened to Musharraf. Then he made himself look like a fool when he got himself recorded. So he must be wondering that we do have evidence, because the messages have been given to them by all the world. So it is unfortunate the Congress is doing this. It goes against Congress party traditions. It goes against opposition traditions.
Absolutely, it goes against opposition traditions. And Ambassador Dogra, if I can get you in at this point, Ambassador Dogra, the fact that the government has fielded somebody as senior as the DGMO, the Director General of Military Operations, he's in uniform. The fact that a man in uniform has been put before the world, before the country, to actually give details of that surgical strike, is there then any space for any political party to question whether these surgical strikes took place or not?
Navika, not only was the DGMO personally present there, the spokesman of the Ministry of External Affairs was with him at the briefing. So it's a statement for any statement which the government puts out for the world community is done by the spokesman of the Ministry of External Affairs. So when he's present there, he's really vouching for what the DGMO is saying. And as Ambassador Parthasarathy said, nowhere did even the Americans release any footage of the Abbottabad raid. Of course, we had the films coming up later, which went into how the operation was conducted. But so far as the actual operation is concerned, till today, there's no photos of Osama bin Laden lying dead, or how he was shot, or how the operation was conducted. I think the adequate, when the DGMO has made this statement, it is to be taken as adequate and full proof. And there's no further need for any party to question that. And if they are doing it on the thing, they are doing it for political reasons, very obviously.
So what are the political reasons? And Major Gaurav Arya, if I can get you in at this point, do you think any political reason justifies the fact that political parties have begun to raise doubts and seeking proof on these surgical strikes? Yesterday you had the JDU questioning, you had the Aam Aadmi Party, even Arvind Kejriwal on the one hand saluting the Prime Minister, on the other hand saying, pull the cards on the table for Pakistan to see. Why is he so worried about Pakistan's false propaganda? Why are these political parties, for their own political mileage, raising the question of proof?
I think more than Pakistan, our opposition parties are in a state of shock after these surgical strikes. You see, it has nothing to do with the surgical strikes at all. In my opinion, these people are so against, so anti-Prime Minister Modi that they cannot digest the fact that there has been a political victory here. Also,
but do you see this only as a political victory? We're talking about the armed forces here. This is a military action that has taken place.
Absolutely.
There has been the crossing of the LOC in surgical strikes, which has taken place,
No.
after a very long period of time. Even if you believe the words of earlier governments that it happened in their time also, it's happened after a long period of time.
Yes.
And there are terrorists across the border who were actually neutralized.
no, you're absolutely right. What I'm trying to bring out here is that this has nothing to do with the surgical strike at all in the minds of the opposition people. They will do anything, any toehold they get to discredit the Prime Minister or the ruling BJP, they will take it. Now, there are 2 points here. As far as the surgical strike is concerned, there has never been a surgical strike of this kind by the Indian Army. There have been cross-border raids, very small patrolling raids across the border in which 2-3 people were killed here and there. Now, whenever these people raise these kinds of questions, we come across as a highly insecure nation in the eyes of the world. The European Union does not need proof. Russia does not need proof. Bangladesh does not need proof. Half the world does not need proof. China is keeping quiet about it. The American
Germany
NSA
today very openly
said... Absolutely. Germany says, but Congress and Aam Aadmi Party require proof. I don't know what is their game plan, but if you remember the day the raids took place, both the Congress President and the Vice President congratulated the Prime Minister, they congratulated the Indian Army, and then suddenly, like terrorists have sleeper cells, these people activated the sleeper cells after 48 hours, and suddenly people started questioning. For 48 hours there were no questions from anybody, and suddenly everybody is saying, was there a raid? Wasn't there a raid? Prime Minister should come out. Final point from my side. If you release that video footage, people will die, and I'll tell you why they'll die. Because that video footage is taken from a UAV at a certain height. It details out the exact tactics of the Indian Army, how they infiltrated into Pakistan, whether by helicopter or on foot, how they carried out their operation and how they exfiltrated. Now they want this document or this video footage to be put in public domain. Tomorrow, God forbid, if there is a surgical strike across Pakistan, God forbid, our boys will not come back alive. They do not realize the repercussions of what they are asking.
That's the whole point, Mr. Parthasarathy. The question is that, these are details of the strategic moves that the Indian Army makes. The fact is, and even reports that are coming in from the government clearly show that there were UAVs that were used, there were recording facilities that were used. Every single detailed evidence has been put on the table as far as the armed forces are concerned. But this is for their consumption. Is it for public consumption? Does the public or political party have the right to ask for this kind of proof to be put on the table to put the lives of our soldiers at risk?
Look, it's ridiculous, this demand. That you put an operation of this nature, which involved, I think, more than a platoon, in these operations. We've never done it before. We've hit 7 locations, and in course of time more evidence will emerge. But why are they going backwards to please the Pakistan and the Pakistan army, our politicians, when General Raheel Sharif hasn't uttered a word?
Yes.
I can't understand this.
Valid point, Ambassador Dogra. If Raheel Sharif hasn't raised a question, what makes our political parties ask this question? The fact is, you know, are you playing the Pakistani game here, or are you playing the Indian nationalist game here? That's an important question that political parties need to answer.
No, as Ambassador Parthasarathy said, Raheel Sharif knows what happened. So that's why he's not raising questions. Here, so far as our parties are concerned, they are on this one-upmanship, you know, political games. If they are talking of strategy, they say that we conducted 2 strikes during our times in the UPA time. Why haven't you released proof of that? Before you ask the BJP government to release proof, why haven't you released the proof of what you did?
May I add one thing of what Ambassador Dogra is saying? Look, I have a fairly good idea. I've also worked in the office of a Congress Prime Minister. So I don't have to learn any lessons from this Johnny-come lately. There were many things we did in Sri Lanka and elsewhere which we never spoke about. But nevertheless, the results came out. In Maldives, till we landed, took over, and had established ourselves, we then called in the leader of the opposition. And I was there that night when Mr. Advani and others were briefed by the Prime Minister. They didn't say, "Bhai, photo dikhaiye ki your aircraft landed. Let me know what cover you used to land your aircraft in Maldives." They just accepted it. And they said, look, and I remember one member of the National Conference from Jammu and Kashmir was ecstatic that, you know, you had done this, that you had saved a nation in the Indian Ocean from a takeover by mercenaries. Now, when the military is involved, and that time it was the Para Brigade, you don't ask these questions.
That's right.
And if they come out, unless your aim is to embarrass your own, because if you are seeking to embarrass a government which is ruling, democratically elected government, which is ruling the country at a time of conflict, you are embarrassing the country.
That's right. And that's the question political parties need to answer, whether they are playing into the hands of the Pakistani propaganda by actually trying to challenge the government with asking for proof of the surgical strikes. We'll step into a short break. When we come out, a lot of other news that we have for you on the evidence of the surgical strikes. Thanks for staying with us. Even as Congress demands proof of the surgical strike, sources are telling Times now that the surgical strike was conducted with immense precision. Sources say that state-of-the-art technology was used, and a 90-minute video of the surgical strike has been handed over to the government. My colleague Shavan Sen joins me live. Shavan, what are the details that you have of what kind of evidence was recorded? We understand it was a very high-precision operation that was carried out, and UAVs and other recording equipment was used. What kind of evidence does the government have or the army have at this point?
Well, Navika, there's absolutely no doubt about the fact that this was certainly a well-planned surgical strike, something which was closely coordinated by the NSA as well as the army chief. Just to quickly take you through what are the equipments that were essentially used. We are given to understand that the soldiers were basically backed by UAVs. Live footage was basically being beamed inside the Northern Command headquarters. This was being monitored by the Northern Commander himself, and thereafter also footage being also sent across to the tactical army divisions in the valley itself. Now remember, what was the necessity of this particular footage? Now this is required essentially to see that the operation is basically moving smoothly, because there have been backup plans that were also ready. Remember, there were helicopters which were also in backup, were given as a backup, so that if at all there is any eventuality, everything can be mobilized soon. So that particular video is only to ensure that nothing really goes wrong, and that is the reason why sophisticated elements were used. Also, helmets of the soldiers, they had cameras that were mounted on their helmets. Apart from that, we are given 25 to 30 pictures and also satellite imagery that as far as this particular operation is concerned.
Yes, Shavan.
We're also being told that this is a 90-minute video that was basically recorded, but essentially, remember, on the very day of that surgical strike itself, Navika, we had reported time to report, essentially giving details as far as this particular the video of this particular operation is concerned.
That's right. That's right, Shravan. Thanks for those updates. So all those naysayers who actually have been asking for evidence, well, the armed forces and the government definitely have that evidence with them at this point, and they will release it to the extent it is safe for the forces to release this evidence. But all those who actually demand proof and question the army are actually doing a disservice to the armed forces. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on this segment of the News Watch. Much more news coming up after we slip into a short break. The Live Wire with all the day's latest stories coming up next.